Hi, everybody, and welcome to an episode of GrantTalk, powered by GrantWatch. I'm here with David Proebstel, and he won a total of $394,000 from 4 different grants that he found on GrantWatch. And we're here to find out how he did it and what his organization does. So, first, David, could you tell us the name of your organization?
Hey, our organization is Sequim City Band, located in Sequim, Washington.
And what age group of individuals are in your band?
Mostly adult, but we also have high school students, and they range on up through till they just get too tired and can't do it anymore. Senior citizen.
And where do you play? Where do you perform?
Um, we built in a park in Sequim a band shell, and we perform in the band shell in the summer, and we rent facilities for fall and spring concerts, high schools.
And are the members of the band paid or it's all volunteer?
Oh, it's all volunteer.
Wow. How many? How many members?
Currently, we have on our list about 112.
And do they all perform at the same time?
Um, because we have a lot of snowbirds and such, people come and go, and so a typical concert would have about 70 or 80.
That's a lot. That is a lot.
Yes.
Oh, I can hear it. Sounds really nice. So what's your position with the band?
I am treasurer of the board, and I also play saxophone.
And so you applied for 4 different grants. Did you do them all at the same time? Give me some background here.
In 2020, the board decided that we had grown to the point that we needed a larger rehearsal facility. And so it was about the same time as the pandemic hit, but we got some estimates on what it might take to have what we needed. And then we decided to start looking for sources of funding. And I told you some of the sources of our funding. Actually, uh, let's see, I didn't count them up. I think it's more like 8 or 9 since we started soliciting, and the total is more like 886,000 that we've gotten from um, grantors listed on GrantWatch.
Oh my, I am like, you're great, David, really, and persistent. And when you wrote these
Thank,
grants, did you use AI or you wrote them totally yourself?
we didn't have any access to AI until, say, this winter, so they were all fill in the blanks and write essay stories and so forth. Um, and we acquired them over time, but the first major ones were like 300,000 from a major donor in Vancouver and 250,000 from the state of Washington, and those two we acquired in 2020.
The the major ones, do you remember the name of the organization?
I do. MJ Murdoch and the Washington State Department of Commerce.
And were they fill-ins also, or there was a lot to write?
Oh, there was there was a lot to write. Interacting with the auditor that knew a whole lot more about finance than I did, and so we supplied our stories, we answered their questions, and had to provide a copy of our Form 990 and our budget, and it was pretty detailed.
Mhm. Well, that's the usual grant. Nowadays, there's a lot of fill-ins, but the usual grant, the way I started out, there was a lot to write. And obviously, you did a great job. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given you that kind of money. How could you what would you tell another nonprofit that's looking for funds? What tips would you give them when writing a grant?
Well, I really like using AI now.
Okay.
We listed, recently applied for some more grants. We the total cost of our project was 1.4 million. And in order to, well, say one of the grants was, here's half of it, and you get the other half when the project is done and it's all paid for. Well, that means we had to have 150,000 in our hands anyway, and we didn't. So we had to borrow to make that whole project work. But in in our current process, um, we look for project or grants that will fund our operations, and we tell a story about who we are and what we do and how we help the community.
Do you find that one grant builds on the next, that they're more willing to fund you because you've already received funds?
To a certain degree. Well, yeah. For example, the Washington State Department of Commerce, when we applied and said, we also have $300,000 from the MJ Murdoch Foundation. Well, that was a good feel because then we're much closer to what we thought the total cost was going to be at that time.
Right, you could show them a budget and you could show that you have money towards it already.
Right.
So when I speak to new nonprofits, they if they want to go for a very large amount, I say go for the smaller ones and build yourself up because then you can say you've already managed some grant funds.
And I think that's true in our case. We thought the cost was going to be 750,000, and so we went for larger grants. And then the cost of material went up and during the pandemic, and it wound up being a 1.4 million. And so little grants really wouldn't have done much for us at that time.
Right, you needed to go for the big or go home. I hear you.
Yeah, yeah.
And how are you using AI today?
Um, I'm an electrical engineer, so I'm not a author, writer of great merit. So I list what I think sounds good, and then I say, okay, AI, rewrite this, and it comes back with some nice looking stuff, and then I can paste that into my essay answers.
And that's the way to use it because you already developed your program. You know what you need the money for. You have everything. You're not asking AI to create. You're using it as a writing assistant.
Correct. Also, one of the grants we just looked at was we wound up in a Word document, and so we answered the questions as we thought, and then I pasted the whole thing into an AI and said, evaluate this. And it was cool. It came back and said, oh, you did a great job, but here's a couple of things we would suggest.
And I like it when I'm working with AI and they give me a compliment because otherwise you're alone in your office and there's nobody patting you on the back, right?
Right,
So
right.
I even named my AI. But that's how people should use it. I'm hearing and I'm seeing YouTubes where they tell you how to do everything on AI, and I don't see that. I see work from your budget and build and then start developing your program and use AI to help you with the writing, not with the idea of it.
Yeah, I did ask my AI, and then this one was Google Bard at the time. Where can I get a good grant? And it came back and said it can't help you very well there. So it was a lot better with, oh, I can evaluate what you said and improve on how you said it.
Right, right. That's how I use it when I need to write something. I mean, I'm a writer, but I'll still ask and see if it can be written better. Sometimes I just want to punch up the first paragraph a little bit, and I'll say, "Can you make this a little bit more exciting?" And then I'll look at it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not my style, so may pull a word or two, a sentence phrase. That's how I would do it.
Yeah,
Wow, your
yeah.
band must love you. Did they name
Uh,
the hall after you or something?
no, we left naming rights to big donors, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I've been treasurer for 20 years, but I wasn't a major donor.
Hmm. Did you get something from GrantWatch when you told us that you won these grants?
Well, yeah, I don't have that mug right here to hold in front of me, but I
Oh,
did
okay.
get a mug.
I'll hold it up. So you got
All
one of
right,
these.
I
Okay.
did get one of those.
And we like to send them
You
out
can,
because you don't get any recognition really unless they write something in the newspaper about you. So we want to say thank you for using the service and letting us know because not everybody does. Not everybody tells us that they want a grant. So that's really important to us to hear. And
yeah, yeah, that's like about 8 or 10 grants.
right, 8 or 10 grants. Wow. So are you going to continue to write? Is there something else
Um,
that the band needs?
well, part of the financial process involved accumulating 1.4 million, which kind of put a crimp on our operations activities. And so, yeah, we still have about $30,000 to pay off, and we're exploring a new option and playing in a brand new facility in Port Angeles, and it costs a little more to rent, but it gives us exposure to a new audience. So we've been acquiring grants to help pay for the rental of the new facility.
And if somebody that's listening and hears how hard you've been working and how much you've accomplished, and they want to send a donation to your organization, how would they find you?
SequimCityBand.org.
Could you spell it? The swim?
Oh, sure. SEQUIM, City, CITY, Band, BAND, all one word,
.com or .org?
.org.
.org. Okay. And
Yes,
I really hope that people want to participate in all the great work that your band is doing and recognition of the effort they should donate to your organization. Is there
thank you.
any tips that you want to give anybody about writing?
Well, one of the nice features of GrantWatch is the filtering process. So, being a band, our filter is arts, and that's pretty much it, except when we were doing capital fundraising. Um, Other organizations would have their own field and therefore their own checkboxes, but that's where we went.
There's something new that I don't know if you noticed. On the navigation bar, it says 990s of GrantWatch, and there you can search and go backwards. You can look for foundations that have given to organizations like yours. So the 990 reports of the foundations are there and who they funded.
That's an interesting feature. When we got our first major grant from MJ Murdoch in Vancouver, they said we've never donated to a band before, so we're a little hesitant. We may not give you all that you want, but they did. They took us, gave us a chance.
Well, that's really kind of them, and they made a great decision because you're using the funds wisely. So
Yes,
I wrote this book, The Queen of Grants. We published it
I've seen that.
February 1st. So in here, I go through everything that you know already. I just want to tell you because you wouldn't be winning these grants if you didn't. But you might want to pass it on or start writing your own because the journey of writing grants is something that people really need to know. That's why I published the book. And what I have here are the hearts because it's the passion. I don't think you get that passion from AI. You get it from you. And then when you put it into AI, maybe it gives it back to you.
Gives it back in a better format.
Yeah. The English is sometimes better, but sometimes I see words like tapestry, they repeat a lot. So there are certain words that you have to, when you, if you're going to take something from AI, you need to change them a little bit. Otherwise, your grants will start to sound like everybody else's.
Yeah, and sometimes I've gotten the pronouns mixed up as a you or they or me. Kind of what am I really going to use when I apply for the grant?
Right. You have to decide which voice you're using. I think you have to,
Right,
I've read that you need to tell it, write in this voice, write in this style. Here's an example of the style, write a little higher level or lower level. You have to prompt it well, but
right,
it has to be say what you want it to say. When you write a
correct.
grant, you start with the budget, correct?
That's a major part of the application, yes.
And so that, I mean, when I write, I used to write, it was, we started with the budget and then everything went from there, because if it wasn't in the, if it was in the budget, it had to be in the narrative.
Well, here's a quandary I have. National Endowment for the Arts puts out grants, really nice ones, like 10,000 or 50,000, but it's a matching grant. And if you don't have 50,000, you can't even use it. But if you could get two grants, one would have that you could match with the other one, that might make them work. Have you done that?
Not from the same funding source.
Oh, true. Two sources.
Right. So if you get, but I don't think you can tell two that you have matching from the other. But if you know you already got the funds, then you can say it. It doesn't have to come from your agency. It can come from grant funds.
Right.
You can
So if
list
I
it.
had, so if I had John Doe granting 50,000 and National Endowment for the Arts said, okay, you can have 50,000 if you have 50,000 already. And so, okay, I got John Doe's grant to match it.
Yeah, you could do that as long as you're spending John Doe's grant according to the budget that you listed.
Right.
So it would
We
be
haven't,
the whole. You'd have a grant with the whole, and then you'd show the in kind support from the other agency. You put
right,
it down, right? And you can also show the donors if you have some individual donors as well. Which
right.
hopefully, if somebody sees this, maybe somebody will want to give you something, and that will help as well. Because the amount of grants that you've gotten in relatively short time, it sounds like about 4 years, right?
2 years.
2 years. So you started in 2020.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. But yeah, it took us 2 years to get grants and then 1 year to build the building. And now we're putting everything away.
Wow. Well, it was really great to meet you. I wish your organization the best of luck. I'm sure that your music brings lots of smiles to many people, and just keep going from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any social media accounts that we should be sharing out on?
Uh, we have a Facebook page, Sequim City Band.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And actually, um, uh, you are showing up on my Facebook page quite frequently lately.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe we'll follow you back. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.